Did you do it? Pay attention. Okay. Right, that feels like a better dice roll. Now you get to a 5. Welcome back to Arcade. I am Super Tommy, and in this video, we're going to look at creating a dice roll that you request on the client and then get the result of the dice roll from the Colyseus server. So in the previous video, we set up the initial player states for our Ludo board game. So we have this room.onState change that, if you remember, we meant we only need this the first time. This is the initial state setup. We have our play states here, which handle telling us that there's 4 pieces in each player's yard, the yard being this colored section on each of the corners of the board. And we set that up in the game state here in the server part of our project using Colyseus array schema, and we're defining all that in the state class here. So perfect. So now we are going to create a dice, roll that dice, and then get back a dice result from the server. So let's make myself a little smaller here. I'm going to go in the corner. And now let's go back to game.tsc. I've added some to-dos. This is something that I like to do so that I remember what I'm doing, even in like a real project, not just for this video, to let me know what I intend to do while I'm doing work here. And so I have these to-dos. I'm going to add a dice roll animation, send dice roll message to server, that's from the client, and then show the result that's returned from the server. So the thing though here is this to-do use.once, and what we have here is we want to change this to use room.onState change once because we only need this one time. And so one of our viewers, John No 1 UK, mentioned this in our previous video, so thank you to John. And this is in the Colyseus docs. Let me bring up the link here. If you go to this page, and we have onState change, you see Colyseus actually has this in their example. We're going to do room.onState change dots. So let's just change this real fast to .once. So now that means we'll get this change one time. Initially, this is on create inside phaser. When our game starts, we're going to get this one time. So now let's just save this and test it out. So the reload's happening. All right, so we get our ID here, and all the pieces are still set up, so that will. Next up, let's add a dice. So we have these dice animations from Kenny. So die red 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're from Kenny, his board game hack. Let's see, kenny.nl. If you search here, your assets, give a search board game. It's these images right here. So you can just get this from Kenny. He's got other great assets as well. So first, let's add the dice. But before we do that, let's actually remove this this logic straight, this code block here from out of create. So let's just do a method private handle initial states. And we're going to get a state, which is a I Ludo game state. State I Ludo game state. And then center myself. Now we're gonna take this right here inside this on state change .once. Copy. Okay, so we gotta determine CYCX, which is this. So let's pass that in. So center X is a number, center Y is a number. Right, that's happy. So now here, .once, this handle state change, state CX CUI. I'm going to clean up this create method a bit. Go back here, you reload it, do it manually, and everything is still working. Great. So now let's add this dice. So real simple dice. So I got to preload it up here. preload our images. This dot load dot, so let's just do it in a for loop because we can. We see the file names are basically the same here. It's die_red underscore border and then some number dot png. So we could do a for loop here, I less than 6 plus I. We can also do, just for simplicity, we're staying at 1. We're going until we get to 6. This dot load, fast. This dot load dot image, and we're going to want to call this basically die image and then some number. We can use string interpolation here. I. So it's going to be at the beginning when I is equal to 1, die image, die dash image dash 1. Let's call it dice. Die just sounds morose. Okay, so that's a key we're giving it. And it is located in assets. Let's put this back. Assets, dice. That's dice, die, red underscore border, some number dot png, right? And we can use string interpolation here as well. So border and then a number, which is I in our case. Okay, so that is, let's come with this for a second. Let it reload. Okay, so now it should have loaded all the dice images. We can just test it. Dice, this dot add dot, let's make this a sprite. Or we're going to put it at just the middle, CX, CY. So texture is dice image, and let's just say 1. So that'll be the dice with 1 on it. That's it. So you're in the middle. And there it is. So that works. Let's try 2. Good. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we loaded all of them probably, right? Yeah, there we go. So we did this instead of, this is just so that we don't have to do this dot load dot image, dice image 1, and then assets die blah, 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 and do it 6 times. We just do it in a for loop, counting from 1 to 6. All right, so we have this here, and really where we want is to have this dice near whoever's turn it is. So let's just make up some positions right here. Let's call these dice positions. This is going to be by player index. So now we're doing it 0, 1, 2, 3 here. That may change, but for now, let's just consider that. And so let's say, where would that be? Let's say X is 100, and then Y is, what is our, let's go to main here. What is our maximum height? 1024. How about 768? Now let's just try that. So let's say dice positions 0.x dot I. Okay. Say 100. No, 800. No, 900. Yeah, that's not bad. 950. 964. No, that's 932. Okay, let's just start there. We'll fill in these later, but basically, well, let's fill in another one. So X is going to stay the same when we're going to red, and instead are going to go down. So 1024, how about this? 1024 minus 92 is 92. So now once we have this, we really have the rest of that. So, and then our total width is 700. So 700 minus 200, 592, that's the top, and then 500, 932, I think. We'll see if I'm right shortly. All right, so here our dice, we're going to start at position 0, and we're going to need some of these animations because we need to have like a rolling animation. So when we send to the server that we want a dice roll result back, we need to like just spin through all the uh, different dice pictures that we have from 1 through 6. And so let's just say on 6, we'll press space. This dot input dot keyboard dot let's see, on key up space. I think this is right. And then we get an event and this. So let's do console.log event here. I'm going to press space and we should get a log. Yep, there's the keyboard event. Good. Okay. So now when we press space, what we're going to do is start this dice roll, send a message to the server that we want a dice roll, that we're rolling a dice, and Colyseus will handle telling which client sent it. So we need a dice roll animation. So let's do a tween here. So this dot tweens dot add. Let's see, is a tween the best option? It's actually going to be an infinite. All right, so let's see. Not tweens. We want to do an update. We can do this instead. So I've added our state machine from a previous video here in our. I made a shared folder, put in the state machine class there. So go to that video is how we made the state machine. This is slightly more advanced. I talked about adding a base state for this as well. So it uses both, just a plain text and a base state that you can pass into it. So let's actually use state machine, and so that we can get a slightly cleaner setup here. Private state machine. Call it state machine. Then in init, I make this state machine. New state machine. Context would be this, and then let's just call this the game one. Okay. And then this, trust me, it is now null. We're setting it in init. And so let's add a state. So this dot state machine dot add state first one. Let's call it idle. And then add state one dice roll. And then state, oh no, that's it. And then set state. So we start idle. Now we have 2 states. We have a state and a dice roll state. What is this error? Oh. Okay. Okay, so now we need an update. So that's create. So let's add a update. We're going to get total time and then delta time. This dot state machine update, and we're going to pass it delta time. All right, so now our state machine is basically set up. And let's see, did we add any logs to this particular machine? Set state, tried to change state, state machine. Yeah, change state from non-idle. Excellent. Okay. All right, so we have these logs there. So now you know we're in the idle state for the state machine. And then when we do this key up, we want to do this state machine dot set state. And we're going to dice roll. Now, of course, dice roll has no enter, update, or exit functions. So let's add that. And we just do it inside this object. We're going to pass it like we showed you in the state machine video that we did. So on enter, what we're going to do is send a message, and then on update, we're actually going to start changing the dice picture. So on enter, let's just say this is going to be this dot handle dice roll enter. We haven't made this method yet. We're going to after we do this. On update, this dot, let's call this dice roll enter. Let's go handle dice roll enter. Handle dice roll update. So now let's make these two methods. Make sure I spelled it right. Yeah. Let's do it here. Private handle dice roll enter and private handle dice roll update. And I should get a delta. No. So just make sure this works. Console.log dice roll enter. And then we just do dice roll updates. So we're getting a lot of update calls, but that's okay. This is just test. Boom, and dice roll update. So that's all working. Fantastic. All right. So now is T. Dice roll enter. We want to send a message. So to do here is send a message to server for dice roll action. Let's say. And then here we want to start our dice roll action. Now we don't change it every single frame. We only want to change it some amount of time. So up here, add this dice roll animation accumulator. Let's say start at 0. It was add dt to this variable, and as it gets to a certain amount, we're going to change the picture randomly. So first, we're going to send the message, and then we're going to actually right here initially set to a new dice picture. So let's say phasor dot math dot between min and max inclusive. Okay, so 1 and 6. So let's see const value, and we actually need to make this dice a class private. So let's come up here, private dice phasor dot gamedev dot sprite, because we made a sprite, and in this case, just say trust me, we are definitely going to have a dice in our game, and then we can do this dot dice. Okay, here, this dot dice dot set texture. So we know what our is dice dash, I don't remember now. We know, you can just check image. So we should make a function that automatically creates this key for us because we're not going to remember. Okay, and then here, so this is going to be, once we press that, we press space, the state machine goes to our handle dice roll state. We're going to change the picture to some random number. And then we're going to go to the roll here, and then so this dot dice roll animation accumulator as it accumulates time plus equals dt. And then if this dot dice roll animation accumulator greater than or equal to, let's see, some amount of time. Now let's see if I think he is in seconds. Let's say 300. Check that. It may not be milliseconds. We'll see if it works. Then we're going to basically do this thing. So you see we have duplicate code here. We fix that later. Let's make sure this works. All right, space. And C. So game. Now let's see if what I thought was right about DT. Update. Put a breakpoint there. All right, let's see what DT is. DT is 16. Oh, yeah. Okay, so after we set the accumulator, we need to reset this back to 0. So this is in milliseconds. We reset this back to 0, say, and we continue. All right, that didn't work. Space. All right, this is our dice roll, so that seems slow actually. So let's go with 200. So it's going to do this until we get a response back from the server. Not bad, I suppose. It's dice flying. We can probably make a better animation, but we'll leave this as is for me. Let's try 100. I don't want to leave it. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay. All right, so there's that. And what we do, so we do know this has to be reset each time, so we can reset it in enter. What I was thinking of is we can reset it in end or exit. Yeah, so do a handle dice roll exit and then reset that to 0. I think either way would be fine. It's always going to enter when it enters the state, so we're going to set it to 0 here. Now we want to send a message to the server. So this dot room, we need to set room as a class here. So let's do that. Private room, and that's going to be, let's see, this type. Just check this. Colyseus.room. Okay. Colyseus.room. I Ludo. Okay. And also, trust me, it is not going to be null. This. 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 Make sure this still works. Okay, good. So we want to do is this dot room dot send. We want to send the message to the server. So now the type is whatever you want to be. It could be a string, it could be a number. Numbers would be more efficient than strings. So let's just make them up here. Nope. Enum. Let's see, client message. And we're going to call this dice roll. Okay, so send the first thing, type, dice roll. And then what we're going to send, if we want any sort of like payload message, which you can put anything you want here, and we actually don't need anything because we're just saying do a dice roll, and then the server will send it back to us. So we will have to listen for a change or a message sent back. So we're going to do that after we set up the server, just do it in order. Okay, so send dice roll message to server. Now this is what that's going to do. That's send. So now here in the server, in the game, we can listen. So here's key down that we were listening for, right? So for now, let's just put it in here. This dot on message. Now we have our client message, and it's in our game.ts. So it would be best to share that so we don't have to duplicate that enum everywhere. So let's share that. Let's go to types. Enums are not, they're sort of like types, so we can just put it in here. And so let's call this, let's call this client message. TS. So when TypeScript compiles this out, are no enums in JavaScript, so it is just going to basically turn it into a number. So let's go here. So we're just going to put this in type since it's kind of a type. Because it's been shared, but let's just put it in types. So then we export enum there. Let's see. Okay, so let's go here. We can always change our mind and put it into shared. And I'm thinking about it in my head right now. So that's from types client message. Client message right there, so that's good. So now let's come here. So we're going to import that enum that we just created, that file with the client message enum. types, client message, client message. Okay. So now on message. Now we've got the same that we can use in both client and server. Client message dot dice roll, and now we're going to handle it. We always get a client and we always get a message, but now we know our message is actually nothing because we didn't need to send a message up, so we just here or just not have it. So now we're going to handle this. Let's just make sure this works. Console.log dice roll. And then we're going to include client.session ID, session ID being the ID of the connected client. Okay, so that's good. Let's make sure the server has it. I'm running a terminal on a separate screen here. That's good. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Why did this just go up? Okay, so let's go back to our console. Okay, we're connected. Let's press space. I built dice change, dice roll. Okay, so you see this log, but it did log over here. Let me just kill the server over here. Let's terminal so that you can see. New terminal. Okay, Udo multiplayer. So npm run start as server. That's how we start our Colyseus server. And we're using ts no dev so that it automatically reloads. Okay, so that's good. That's working. Let's restart, reconnect. So you can just see that console log did in fact happen. Space. Here it is. Dice roll from this client, which is right here, the connected client. Okay, let's close that. So we see that we got the message. It was send back down a value. So console.log. Now we can't really use phaser here, although we probably could use phaser's utility. I'd just rather not. Just keep the distinction between the client and the server. Phaser is entirely client, shouldn't be running on the server. Instead, we're going to do, let's see, mdn math.random. So the folks at Mozilla here provide, or was it this site? I think it's this one. They give you an example of random integer between two values. So let's just take their perfectly good function here. So this is, but not into max, right? So this is value is no lower than min, and it's less than, but not equal to max. So this is exclusive. So let's go here. I put in Jared. Let's make a new folder. We're gonna call it math, and then I'm gonna make a new thing here called random. So export. Let's see, random. Let's call it random int. Now let's just see what we copied. Let's take this part. So I'm turning it from a function into a arrow function here. Just because I like doing that, simply because I don't expect this to exist. And when you use a function, this does exist, this being the function itself. So I'm just going to be very clear, this random function should not have a this. It's just, so all we're doing is giving it two values and then sending back a random number, a random value. Okay, so number. Okay. All right, this is the code, so that's export. We can now do an export default here, random int. Let's say this is shared, although on our client page already has a great random number function for us to use. So random int number. So we want a number from 1 through 6. So because this is exclusive, right, but not equal to max, we're going to do 7. So we'll get from 1 to 6. So let's see, value. Now we're going to send this value back down to the client. What we're going to do is this dot broadcast. So we actually want everyone to know what the value is. So we can just set it in state, and we probably should, so we can know which is the last dice value, so everyone knows. But for now, we're going to do broadcast. So broadcast, and the message is going to be dice result. So let's come here. Just like with this client message enum, we're going to have a server message enum. Server message. And so export enum server message and dice roll result. And then here, let's see if yep, VS Code will auto. It's not going to auto write. Right, probably didn't work. Okay, good. Okay, these auto imports with the tilde is not supported by the Colyseus code because our npm run start server uses node dev, and we have not set it aliases on our paths. Okay, so that we can pass in any message. Let's just say it's the value. Oh, there we go. Okay, so once we get that demo request, we then generate a number and send it back down. This may happen too quickly. Certainly will happen quickly on uh, local when we're testing locally. So let's see here. Okay. So here, handle dice roll enter. So now this .room.on message. Now I'm curious. Do I have a once here? I don't. Let's actually check. Check the Colyseus docs for a second here. Client API room. Let's see, method send, leave, on state change, on message. Yeah, on message doesn't have a once, but that's okay. So how would I do it? Let's actually see. Server message is probably server message. It's going to import it wrong. Fix that. We'll have to resolve this project's alias imports here with the tilde. And here, server message dot dice roll result, and we're going to get is the dice value. So console.log, just log that out. Okay, press space, came back as a 5. Okay, that came back very quickly, but did work. So what we would then do, once we get the dice result, we can use state up here, this dot adds, let's see, dice roll finish, and let's see, we're going to have a on enter, handle dice roll finish enter. That. Make a new method here, private handle dice roll finish enter. And so now we have this, we have the value. We can do set the dice value here to dice value. And then this dot state machine dot set state dice roll finish. Now it's going to happen so fast you may not even see this animation much. I assume it was a 2. Let's keep this log. Three. All right. Okay. Now, so that happened really fast. We don't really want it to happen that quickly. So now let's actually do this where instead of listening for this message result, let's actually listen for a change on the state, because realistically everyone needs to know what the last dice value was. So let's do add type here. So then we're here in a Ludo game state. This is the Colyseus schema number. Let's call this last dice value well, 0 to start. Okay. Now in our game here, so instead of broadcasting it back, we're just gonna set number on the state here. So this dot state dot, so not this state, yes, any. Let's see, so Ludo game state. This dot state dot last dice value. All right, so now we just set this state here, and Colyseus will take the rest, well, at least in terms of syncing the data across the server and client. So now let's go back to game.ts. So now instead of this on message, what we can do is this .room.state or Ludo game state. So we're going to add here last dice value number. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to use these schema changes. So if we come here, let's go to state line, schema, let's go down. And what you'll see is Colyseus lets you listen to changes on specific parts. So this does state that on changes all the changes from the state itself, but there's also, you can do on add, on remove, on change for collections and whatnot. So in order to do that, let's see if we can get it all. Import here. Can make this interface extend schema. I'll have to import it. Can make it extend schema here so that we know. This is mostly for TypeScript to give us, or for VS Code to give us the right IntelliSense. So extend schema. So this also extends schema, and this extends schema. Right? We do that here. Right? The P state, the player state, they all like schema because this is a Colyseus schema, the whole thing here. It just happens to implement this interface. So now when we go back here, game, last dice value, rather this dot state dot on change, and then we give it changes, right? And then changes dot for each. Let's call this change. Now changes have field, previous value, and the current new value. So in our case here, we only want to know about changes to the last dice value. So if change.field not equal last dice value, we're going to do nothing. Return. Otherwise, we know we have a last value changed. So let's just do a log here. Log change.value. Let's just see this in action. And let's make sure our server, I want a neutral, show me the terminal. It should be this. This. Hello. Oh man. Okay, let's just go to window terminal. No, I'm just doing a terminal. I forgot that. Node. Okay, it's running. Great. Save. Just refresh. Space. Okay, we still got back the 6, the random dice roll. Now we changed it. Instead of using the on message, we're using listen to the state And then on change last dice value, we're going to get this change here. So we're going to basically do the same thing. We're still going to set this to finish. But what we don't need to do, and since we actually can probably do this, at least this should be safe. No, undefined. Let's see, does it actually, yeah, let's just do this for now. We'll get rid of this listener, we don't need it. We're gonna go to the dice roll finish state, and we're gonna actually wait a little bit because I already have the value for last dice roll. So when we get here on finish enter, we can just take this and do this, dot room dot state dot last dice value, right? This will work too, but it's ending too fast. So too fast. What we can do instead is this dot time. This is from Phaser now. Delayed call. Let's just delay, I don't know, 500 milliseconds from when we get the response back, assuming that we're always going to get the response back relatively quickly, unless people are connected to very poor internet, but then you have all kinds of other problems. We'll do that. Okay. And so now we're going to press space. You're going to see it went a little bit, then it went to 4. Let's make it 1 second. Two. Oh, no, right. So the problem is, okay, let's go back here. We don't want to actually exit that state because our update in the previous state is what's doing this animation. So we're going to go here. We got the message back. We don't need to listen anymore. Over here. Half second. All right. There we go. So we got some amount of dice. You can play with this number. Maybe a second is better. It's for a fear. The server is going to return it generally faster, even if in the real world you take, I don't know, 100 milliseconds to round trip this, or maybe a little bit more. Did we do it? Paying attention. Okay. Right? That feels like a better dice roll. Now you get to a 5. All right, so that is the dice roll. We're at 42 minutes here, and we went through creating the dice, making up our dice, using our state machine that we talked about 2 videos ago. Do go check that out. And using a machine, we were able to better organize this logic. You can just imagine it without the state machine, how messy this would have gotten. And we could clean this up even more because we can put individual logic inside state, which we will do, but not in this video. And so we sent a request to the server here in room's end, client message.dice roll, and then in our Colyseus server code here in Ludo, we're listening for the client message dice roll. When we get it, we generate a random number from 1 to 6 exclusive, or 1 to 7 exclusive here. The max is exclusive. We get that value, we put it into the state's last dice value. Now Colyseus will magically handle sending that data to all of the clients. And then once we get back to our game, here we listen to the on change of the state, the last dice value change. When that happens, we wait 1 second using Phaser's delayed call, and we change our state from dice roll finish, which in dice roll finish, we simply set our dice image to the texture representing the value of the dice roll that our Colyseus server sent back to us. All right, so that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to continue building on this game, probably do some code cleanup as well, and make sure that all clients see the dice result when one player rolls a dice. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit like and hit subscribe for more videos on making multiplayer games with Phaser and Colyseus.